What's up, everybody in Box Office Banner and around the world that is tuning in? I hope that to be true. This is another Top 5 Thursday. And on this Top 5 Thursday, I will be doing Jason Wilkins' submission of Top 5 Justin Long movies. And boy, do I love me some Justin Long. So this was actually really difficult. And also, I'm going to come out and say it. There was a couple that I even left off the list that I think, because he has a lot of like little roles in movies, or he's like maybe the fifth main star, but he's in the movie a lot type of deal. I left some movies off that I think are maybe better than some of the movies on this list, but due to the fact that Justin Long is more prominent in these movies that I have on here, or at least made a bigger impact in one of his lesser roles. And by lesser, I mean like, you know, that like fourth or fifth star. It's like a combination of stars. That movie might have made it, where another one where it's a combination of stars, where he didn't imprint as much on me, didn't make it. Although the latter might be better than the last movie, if that makes sense. Okay, let's jump right into it, though. And tell you my honorable mention. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Dodgeball did not make my list. Justin Long is very funny in Dodgeball. But, again, he's not the main star. He's one of the main stars, but because he's not the main star, or even the second main star, comes down a little peg. And then also in the movie, I find him to be funny, but he's more of the, like, you know, he gets beat up during the movie, and it's funny. It's not, like, the character itself isn't hilarious. It's stuff that, like, happens to him. He's more of, like, a cheap gag that has a few bright moments. Solid in the movie. I'm not taking anything away from him, but that is why it did not make it. Plus, I just talked, but we just did the review on this. Love Justin Long and Dodgeball, but not quite as much as these. So, all right, number 5, the one that barely edged it out. Going the Distance. This is a comedy that I hardly ever hear get talked about. It isn't flat out hilarious. I think Dodgeball is funnier, but whereas Dodgeball's funnier, I like this movie from the standpoint of, like, it's charming in its own way. You know, it's not just a comedy that's just strictly for laughs. It feels like it's very well executed at times. Drew Barrymore, I know it's a Justin Long list, but you do have to account for the co-stars, or, I mean, I'm accounting for Justin Long as a co-star in some of these upcoming movies, but the co-stars in the movie, how good they were. Having Charlie Day as the best friend also helped. And back to Drew Barrymore, just charming as all fucking get out. I mean, that was like the poster child. Like, we grew up with that chick, if you're my age and even older, maybe even younger, but you grew up with her, man. You loved Drew Barrymore if you grew up watching movies. I know I did. I know a lot of people did. So if you didn't, I don't know what you was doing. But she's always fun to watch. She's so bubbly and was awesome as a counterpart to Justin Long. And like I said, Charlie Day stole the show. And Justin Long himself, all while not necessarily hilarious, kind of like in Dodgeball, he's not necessarily hilarious. He's really funny still. He has his moments. And overall, it's just a good movie I think is underrated, plus needs to have a little light shined on it. So we're going to go in the distance at number 5. And number 4, speaking of underrated, and I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't watched this movie in a long time, but I did used to watch it religiously, The Sasquatch Gang. I remember this movie coming out of nowhere. I think maybe I saw the cover, I saw the trailer, and Justin Long was just talking shit, looking like an idiot with a mullet, and then old dude in the background, I forget his name, guy that played in Grind. He played in so many. He was in Cabin Fever. He's the guy at the end that comes out like, I made it, and he gets gunned down. That guy that's played in so many movies that, you know, I don't know his name. Yeah. He was great, and he's standing in the background with the corn dog. That duo right there, just, I don't know. I don't even know if the movie was funny outside of them, but every time they were on scene, it was electric, because their stupidity was so fun to watch. I don't know why. I don't know what it was. It just was always Justin Long being louder than he needed to be with this dude with the corn dog at all times, just backing him up. And it looked like, you know, like he's supposed to be back up. It literally looked like you could push him on the shoulder and he'd just fall into dust. Like, he just looked flimsy. And he loved corn dogs. Anybody that eats corn dogs on the regular is not intimidating. I'm sorry. Watch, somebody's going to be like, well, have you seen this guy in the Box Office Banner Movies group? I'm like, no, dude, I'm sorry. Y'all going to have to prove me wrong with that. I've yet to see a guy eat a corn dog and look intimidating, let alone all the time. But Justin Long has got so many stupid parts. Like in the very beginning, he comes over and they're the main characters that are the kids are like LARPing, and he's just making fun of them for being idiots. And all the wit that went into all that was fucking great. And then, of course, like just little cut scenes where he's like getting on his buddy that eats all the corn dogs. Funny as shit. I remember one specific scene that is always hilarious to me, where they're sitting around watching like Animal Planet or something. He's like just got done arguing with his buddy, I think, that eats the corn dogs, and he's like, "You can't do that." And he's just like, "No, I could do that, no problem." They're watching like a fucking gecko run across the water, and he literally gets out there with the boat, and he's like trying to run with flippers, and he just goes straight under. Just stupid jokes galore like that. This is a movie that definitely deserves more praise and definitely needs more light shed on it. I mean, these top two, I wouldn't be surprised if you hadn't seen them. Go in the Distance, a little more popular, but I think went under a lot of people's radars. And then Sasquatch Gang. Hardly ever hear anybody talk about it. And number 3, this is another one that maybe you haven't seen, but I'm actually surprised by how many people have seen this. I was like, because it's one of those movies that has to be seen to be believed, but while you're watching it, you're like, good Lord, I got to get this out to the world. It's horrible. Not the movie, but what happens in the movie. And I need other people to see this, because what I'm seeing is fucking ridiculous. As it turns out, more people than I thought have seen it, but it's still a little under the radar. Maybe a little bit more so if it wasn't a Kevin Smith film. That film, of course, is Tusk. Now, this is a movie I haven't watched in a while either, but it definitely made its imprint on me. Just seeing Justin Long return to, like, the horror genre, just watching, albeit how crazy and fucking weird it is, the uniqueness of it, I guess. I mean, if you haven't seen Tusk, let me just put it this way. Justin Long gets turned into a walrus by like a mad scientist. And you're kind of wondering, I mean, it's kind of spoilatory. This is the whole movie. On the fucking front cover, he's got the tusk coming out of his fucking mouth. I mean, it's not that thing where it's kind of like light around the edges where, it implies and you're like, did he really turn him into a walrus? It shows it. And he's legit. Like, he's legitimately a walrus. It's Justin Long as a fucking walrus. And it's one of those movies, like, if you're watching it, you almost don't want somebody to walk in the room. Because if somebody does, they're going to be like, dog, what the fuck are you watching? Like, it's that kind of fucked up. But here I was watching this movie, and I still somehow was so captivated by it. As a horror fan, I can get into a little bit of the weirder stuff that the average audience can't get into, I think. But also, it's just one of those things. You can't quantify it. There's some things that are weird and gross, and you're just like, dude, this is just, I don't want, like, I have this feeling, and I'm explaining right now. I'll be like, I just can't, no, dude. It's just, why would you even, like, want to watch this? It's just disgusting. But then I could potentially watch another movie like Tusk that is even more disgusting and be like, there's something about it, bro. There's something about it. And there is something about Tusk. I definitely see this as a love-hate type of film. I don't think it'll be for everybody for all the reasons that I just explained. If you haven't seen it, fair warning, I'm not sugarcoating shit. That you literally see the whole walrus get up. It's not a get up. It's a new persona. He's been successfully transformed into a walrus. I won't tell you what happens after that, but yeah, Tusk. If that sounds like your kind of thing, watch it, because it is a fucked up good time. And honestly, man, there's no way to pitch that as your kind of thing, because that's not my kind of thing. You'll just have to watch it and see, but chances are you'll probably be like, oh God, I've seen enough, especially if you're not a horror fan. But if you want to see Justin Long in horror, it's not enough. Give me more, right? All right. Number 2. This is a movie we just talked about. Strange Wilderness. I will go to my deathbed saying this movie is underrated as fuck. As I said, we just talked about it, so you probably pretty much know my points. But this movie, while underrated as fuck, gets hated on. It gets fucking ripped apart. Like, it's not like underrated as fuck, like more people need to see it. Like, people that see it fucking hate it. But this is the weird part about it. Critics dog it. I don't like damn near any Happy Madison. Maybe like 3 movies since like peak Adam Sandler. And I'm talking like before Mr. Deeds. Like, let's go back to like Bulletproof type shit. Like, don't like a lot. But this movie right here, to have like a 2% on Rotten Tomatoes, you can look that up. I'm pretty sure that's right. If it ain't 2, it's 3, 4, 5. It's right in that mix. It ain't double digits, people. And then on IMDb, which is a good way to gauge like audience score, that's where the audience posts, it gets ripped the fuck apart. But the odd thing is, everybody I've ever talked about this movie with, they're like, oh my God, and we can just quote it for days, the people that have seen it. So it's kind of strange. Maybe it's that bad that people have forgot about it. So when I'm asking the people that don't like it, they're just kind of like, what? I don't even think I've seen that movie. But if they watched a clip, they'd be like, oh God, that movie was horrible. Maybe that's it. But the people I talk to that have seen it or realize that they've seen it are like, dude, yes, hilarious. And they always go to the shark scene, that fucking Animal Planet shark scene. But all the quotes, everything. And Justin Long is nothing short of the greatness that is in this movie as a comedy. He is probably my favorite character in this movie. He says so much stupid shit, but it's about the execution and the way Justin Long delivers it. He plays easily one of my favorite stoners in a movie ever. Oh shit, a porcupine. He's got the fucking it's not a good time for me. He's blowing the fucking weed at the beginning. The fucking, oh my God, he takes the fucking what is it, the laughing gas, and they're just like, whoa, where'd you get that? He's like, I'm a doctor, I need to use this shit. Like, that's what he said. He told him that he got out like that. I can't do it justice. It's just hilarious. The fucking tattoos on his eyes. His character in that movie, much like Dodgeball, where I thought he was really funny, and this one, he's in a grouping of characters very similar to that, where he isn't necessarily the main star, but he's one of the main stars. And this one, it isn't just very funny. It's flat out hilarious. Probably one of my favorite comedic characters in a movie. I don't know what it is. Justin Long just tears this shit up to me. And because of the ratings that I see, I feel like he will never get his due. I want to meet these people that bash this movie because somehow I never run into them and talk to them to be like, did you at least like Justin Long? Like, where did this go wrong for you? I don't know. Justin Long killed it in this. All right. Number 1. It's still my favorite Justin Long movie. Jeepers Creepers. Remember how it was like return to horror? Yeah, you had to realize that there was a base starting point, right? I have had this in a few top 5s for different reasons. This is one of my favorite horror movies ever. Justin Long is great in this movie. I wish he would do more serious movies due to his performance in this movie. I mean, he's got a few he's like, rats, and you just are like, you fucking idiot. Like, rats are falling into that trap. Then again, in the moment, I don't like rats either. Maybe I'm, overdoing it. But by, not just by the end of this movie, like by the middle and beginning, every part of it, dude. Like, him and his sister have such an authentic relationship. And you want to know how that's sold? How the chemistry is so perfect? Sometimes that ain't just natural. It's the acting. They fucking really pull together. You love this duo, and you don't want them to be separated at all. Spoiler alert. I'm sure we've all seen Jeepers Creepers by now, but spoiler alert, by the end of it, Jeepers Creepers, obviously, he smells his victims. He lives on your fear. That's how he preys on you. He's trying to figure out which one he wants. He's sniffing up Trish up and down, which is his sister's character. And then Derry, he comes over to him, Justin Long's character, and he sniffs him up, dude. And you see one of the dopest creature designs ever get even doper, where his fucking back of his head flaps back and he screams. Insane. And he rips Derry out that window, and it ends with Derry. Like, you just have the music playing, and we're kind of going down that corridor, and you can just hear Derry screaming, Justin Long screaming at the top of his lungs, and it ends with basically the whole back half, basically like this, cut down the middle. Like Matthew Lillard in fucking 13 Ghosts, if you know what I'm talking about, with that glass, cut him right down the middle. He's basically cut down right down the middle, hollowed out, like just skin. And it's playing that, where'd you get those eyes? Where'd you get those eyes? And then out of nowhere, the creeper looks through Justin Long's eyes, where his eyes used to be, because he'd been cleaned out. That scene is still so haunting and still one of the best endings to a horror movie ever. It's supposed to end on a scary note. Motherfuckers that love the character Derry like I do, a bunch of them probably are like, how could you do this to Derry? How could you do that to Justin Long? He's so innocent. I get you. But guess what? We got to go there in some horror movies. It's something I stand by. And Justin Long was just the character to go there with because he does look so innocent. You do care about him so much. Due to that innocence, but also due to that acting ability, I wish he got some more serious roles because Justin Long can act, people. He kind of out of nowhere got typecasted into comedies as it went along. But I'd like to see Justin Long in some more horror movies, more serious ones. Drag Me to Hell is another one that comes to mind. A lot of people love that movie, and Sam Raimi, big fan. I can never get into that movie. Maybe I'll watch it for the 40th time and something will change. I'm not holding my breath, though. But he needs more movies like this. Give me more, please. Yes, long live Justin Long. Thank you, Jason Wilkins, and that is my top 5. Follow us or something, bitches. Seriously, love y'all. Keep up the good work. We'll do the same. Peace.